Our next question from Hope in California. My husband and I have deeply struggled in our relationship for at least 5 years. I separated a year ago and am initiating a divorce. My husband begged me to go to couples therapy. I agreed because I want to show him the respect of giving him a place to talk. I'm fully moved on and I know he is not. Is it wrong to go to couples therapy if I know I'm headed for divorce? Woo, is a good question. No, it's not wrong to go to couples therapy if you know 100% you're headed for divorce. It is not wrong. I think, well, I was going to say, I think that it's necessary and helpful for you to actually share that with the therapist. Is it wrong if you don't? No, because I think that even just saying those words, sharing that sentiment, that's a skill unto itself. That's extremely challenging. And I actually would rather steer away from the words right or wrong. Not in general, but in this scenario, because I think that when you've been in a partnership for a long time and you're married and you've decided that you're going to divorce, that decision is first made in your mind. Then you start sharing it with close people. Then you start sharing it with others, and then you actually take the action to go ahead and do it. And I think each and every one of those steps takes different skills. And so if you have this skill and you are ready to say that in couples therapy or to tell your therapist that, do it. Because it's going to make the process more transparent from the beginning. So if you're going into couples therapy and you know 100% you're getting divorced, and you can say in the first or second session, I just want you to know my goal in these couples therapy meetings is to talk about co-parenting or is to talk about the way that we're going to separate amicably. I have no interest in continuing this relationship. One, I know how much it takes to actually say those words. And two, good for you for saying it and being transparent and being clear in the opening meeting. If you know this relationship is over in your mind and you're not able to say it out loud in the couples therapy meetings, that's okay. That's also what couples therapy is for, is to create a space where people can develop the tools to share their true emotions, to share the reality that's really theirs that they haven't been able to elsewhere. That's what I would say about that question. I also there was a sentence in this response that I want to just address. My husband begged me to go to couples therapy. I agreed because I want to show him the respect of giving him a place to talk. If that's pure, meaning if that's your true feeling that you want him to have a place to talk and you feel resolved about that and you feel good about that, that's a beautiful sentiment. And it's very gracious and giving of you to give your time to support your ex-partner in moving through the grief of a divorce. But I want to make sure you know you don't owe that to him. You can show him respect in myriad ways that do not include going to couples therapy. So I also just want to make sure that's clear and that I shared that. One thing I wanted to bring up with this question, and I have the model here, but it'll be on the post when this is uploaded. I think that appreciative inquiry can be an important tool to use when you know that a relationship is over and you're working to show your partner some support in moving into a different place. So there's there's 5 parts to this process, and they all sort of feed into each other. So the first one is really defining the topic of the conversation. And this one can be difficult by the way, this is the work that the therapist should be doing. But if you find yourself in some of these conversations outside of couples therapy, I'm just going to readjust myself. Sorry about that. If you find yourself in some of these conversations outside of couples therapy, appreciative inquiry can be a very useful tool to use. So basically you define the context of the conversation. So you say, hey, I just wanted to open up a conversation. I'm ready to move on and move forward with our divorce proceedings. And I'd like to talk about how we're going to co-parent, or I'd like to talk about how we're going to have an amicable breakup. What would you like to talk about? The person says, well, I want to talk about how we can try to make things right and get back together. So right away, you have a division in the conversation. So if you're not defining the terms of difficult conversations initially, you will find yourself in a really tough spot a few minutes into that conversation. So right away, you can respond and say maybe this isn't a good time to talk because we are not going to reunify because I've decided I'm going to move on. So if you'd like to talk about ways of co-parenting or amicable ending, let's continue, but that's really what I'm willing to talk about right now. So you have an agreement right on the onset of what you're actually going to discuss. So that's first. Then there are these 4 just such beautiful parts of appreciative inquiry. Discover, dream, design, and deliver. And appreciative inquiry was created to have really difficult conversations. So in discover, you're asking about the best of what is. So we're going to just continue to use Hope's example. And again, I'm hoping that your therapist is going to guide you through some of these conversations. But again, for people who don't have therapists, it is possible to do it on your own. So again, discover, dream, design, and deliver. So we're going to start with discovery. So if we're in Hope's situation, it's, one thing that I've always appreciated about our relationship is that we're always honest. We're always transparent with each other. We haven't always gotten along. We have really different values, and that's probably why we're breaking up. But we've always been able to be honest with each other. Okay, so you're discovering the best of what is. You then imagine, you dream. So you dream about how the best of what is can be extended into another area. And I know that honesty and truthfulness are the cornerstones of co-parenting. And so what I think is that we can bring that honesty and transparency from our relationship into the way we parent our kids after we're divorced. We then design. And how I envision that happening is, maybe we do 50-50 custody, or, maybe I'll relocate to live near to you so the kids can just easily go back and forth. Or I know you are planning on moving to Australia. I'd love the kids to be with you for the summer. Okay, so we're starting to design and then deliver. So it sounds like there is some disagreement that we have on the custody of the kids and how that's going to look. Maybe we should get a mediator, or maybe we should go to couples therapy and figure out how we're going to co-parent. Obviously, these conversations don't normally go very streamlined like that, but that would be essentially the model. You're discovering, here's what's great about what we have. You're dreaming, here's how we could generalize it to an area that's not going well. You're designing, planning how we're going to do that, and then you're delivering, actually delivering on the plan.